Good morning and welcome. Okay, so I was saying we are co-hosting this webinar because I'm connecting from Finland, from white, snowy Finland, because I'm in the Finnish national platform at the moment, accompanying the new director of CONCORD in a visit. And we have Gerard and Paula from the CONCORD communication team from Brussels.
Hi.
Hi.
So, I mean, why we convened this webinar? For two reasons. The first one is, of course, to present in person this product that went out Friday last week. Many of you were involved into the preparation of it, and now it's out for all the members and the members of the members for use, for possible use. So let's say this is not the only moment that we will use to explain what is this tool about, how to actually use it concretely in practice. We will have also bilateral meetings or calls with the members that requires a bit more one-to-one exchange. So this is primarily a general presentation, giving also to the members a bit of a space asking questions. Probably not everything that you will raise will be answered. Not all your questions probably will be answered today, but we will take a good note of everything that you think needs to be clarified, or I mean the possible problems that you're seeing. And then if we cannot answer today, we will come back in writing or bilaterally to the organization. Okay, so let's say this is the first opportunity, but it's not the only one, and it's not, let's say, the end of the process in a way. I prepared a very short presentation that I will show to you. So I share my screen now, and I think you can follow the PowerPoint from there. So from the beginning. Okay, I think you can see it there. Agenda of this webinar. As I said, I wanted to give a quick introduction. Where do we come from? How we arrived to the final product of the infographics. We will go through briefly through the presentation note that was the PDF. Hello, Serge. Salut. Bonjour. So Serge is finally connected. Hope he can hear us. Can you hear us, Serge? No. Okay, but I hope he can hear. And then I would like to just approach this issue of trying to, if possible, collect info about the possible use of the infographics by the members. And then we will leave the floor open to you guys for questions. Any kind of questions, very welcome. So technical ones, but of course also more general ones. And then sort of closing points on next step, what to do next, and any other business that we are not, let's say, developing during the webinar today, but it's important and you feel should be raised and should be tackled. Okay, so I don't know if you have any other point for the webinar today. If not, I would just go through the presentation with you all, guys. I don't see the chat, so perhaps I will check it from time to time, just to be sure that we have everything there, and you're not writing, you don't type in the chat box and I don't see it. Okay, so how we started, where is this product coming from? We in 2018 in Concord, we started to think about the European Parliament elections that are finally taking place this year, quite soon actually, in May 2019. And we organized different moments where Concord members could share their ideas, and also they could, how to say, also propose possible tools and support that they were thinking about asking Concord for this specific moment, which is a very key moment in our daily work. The European Parliament elections are not only changing the names of the people in the European Parliament, but they bring also a complete new set for the European Commission high-level managers and let's say top-level administration. So for the work we do at the European level, this moment is very key. And one of the first challenges that came out from the members was how to have Concord Europe producing something that it's flexible enough and that we can use without a sort of pre-cooked, prefixed, top-down final piece. Why? Because of course Concord is a big confederation. We have more than 50 organizations present, and all of you work with your members. So one of the first challenges that came already last year was let's try to avoid anything that cannot be changed, anything that is there and is fixed, set in stones, that can be used, can be good, but that members cannot adapt. So in one of our first conversations, especially at the Concord General Assembly, this was a key, strong ask from the Concord members. And of course, I mean, this required some thoughts about the development of a new tool for the members. And already in 2018, we said, okay, let's try to propose something new, something different, something that we haven't done before. That can accompany our members, not only about content and text, but also about visual and graphic communication in a way, because of course everything related to the European Parliament election is about campaigning. Then campaigning can be oriented towards the political leaders, the stakeholders, or you can campaign targeting citizens. And this is pretty much the dilemma when we started to think about what to do. We said, okay, but if we want to produce something that it's good enough to be used with politicians, stakeholders, institutions, but also for citizens, we need to be very creative. And of course, again, I mean, we had quite limited resources, so we had to somehow find the compromise. I think what we have been doing with some of the Concord structures involved, particularly the EP Election Transversal Group, but also the Policy Direction Committee and all the hubs, primarily the hubs steering group, was to first agree on key content, key text, and then switch to the creative part and try to produce out of those key messages, key text, the visual part. So in a way, our path was not linear at all. We had to involve different groups in Concord, but also we had to put together different views. And of course, I mean, when you have many people and many different approaches to the same type of action, you have different expectations as well. So in a way, I think this the path that we followed was also quite it was not linear, of course, but in every step it was enriched by comments, by new proposals, and by I think good improvements in a way. In the very last phase, then we were working with a consultancy company, with a graphic design company that was actually putting into practice our desires. So that's a little bit, I mean, in a nutshell, how we started. And I think I should thank many of you that were highly involved into the different phases. So I think we can be quite proud of what we have now. For sure, the product is not perfect, is not exactly what every single CONCORD member wanted, but I think I can say, if, at least from the Secretariat side, it's a good compromise. It's something that it's supposed to be flexible enough, but also that can be used on a little bit more longer term. So this is done primarily ahead of the elections, but hopefully what we have been developing is not, let's say, expiring with the elections. It's something that can be used also after the election, in the post-election phase, and in the daily advocacy work that you are doing or your members are doing. So that's a little bit for me the history of what is behind the development of this box, let's say toolbox, let's call it in this way. I think another important remark I want to make is that the final sentences, which are the two big one sentences in blue into the different hubs artboards, those were first drafted by the hubs, but then they were finalized and changed by the policy direction committee. Why I'm saying this? Because anything that it's let's say coming out of CONCORD Europe is normally passing by the PDC, which is the body in CONCORD that is. Hello? Can you see?
Hello.
Hello, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. There is a.
But it might be counting us down now.
Okay.
Let's.
It looks like it sounds like a telephone.
Yeah. Just strange.
That's very strange. But perhaps someone is joining with the telephone, so that could be. Okay, but let's see if it stays like that or not. Okay, so what I was saying is that oh, this is a bit annoying, but what I was trying to say is that the PDC, in different phases of the production of the infographic, had to comment and had a say on first the sentences, the text, but then also partially on the visuals. Why? Because the policy direction committee is the body that is overlooking at the coherence of all the CONCORD messages coming out. So in a way, I mean, everything that was decided by the members was also I think it's I don't know, I think it's Veronica, this sound. So I'm muting Veronica. Should be better now. Okay. Yeah, it was her. Okay. So why I'm saying that? Because PDC has the power, of course, in CONCORD to amend the very final version of what is coming out of the hubs. So if you notice the discrepancy between the very first texts and then the final products, or some changes in the visuals from the very first draft to the very final ones, it's also because we had to take into account the PDC recommendations, and this is a must that is happening in Concord. And of course, I mean, we need to take those recommendations into account because it's for the entire confederation. So that's for me, it's important to explain and to yeah, tell members that it's a joint effort, but then there are some moments where we have bodies that can really give green light or red light depending on how you know, how they ensure the coherence of the general Concord messages. Now, I wanted to, I hope my screen is still fine and I'm still sharing it. I wanted to go briefly through the PDF that was sent out with the package, and it was attached to the emails, just to scan through it and to you know, present briefly the different parts of this graphic product. I won't be long, but I think it's good that we, you know, we have a look at it all together. Of course, I mean, introduction, it's explained everything that I mentioned earlier, and there are some key points that we wanted to highlight also with Gerard and Paola. Why? Because the moment you produce a more flexible tool, something that can be adapted and changed, you need, in any case, to ensure a little bit of branding and coherence in a way, because first of all, this is a Concord product in any case, and so we hope that whenever you will use those infographics, those visual tools and the text, you will still protect the Concord main values and missions that are behind it. So of course, I mean, we have 28 national platforms in Concord. We have our strong networks members. You are absolutely free to use the visuals in the way you want, changing the text, adapting, combining different pictures. But please stay in line with what is the Concord core business and what are the Concord main values and mission. That's why we put a clear hyperlink that is reminding to the Concord website. And I think this also, if you explain to your members how to use them, please stress this very loudly, because of course, I mean, we cannot risk of seeing our infographics and visual tools next to, I don't know, strange text or you know, weird messages. That is, I mean, we cannot overlook or control everything. Of course, it's impossible. Concord represents overall more than 2,600 NGOs in Europe, so it's absolutely impossible that we can have a look at everything. But please, whenever you will present this to your members of members, or your allies, please stress this point. It's very, very important, and it's ensuring that there is a coherence and consistency with what we are doing. Then, I mean, in this part of the presentation, we explain also why you see those 5 big posters. Let's call them posters. In the more technical word, the graphic company was calling them art boards. Those are divided per hub. Why? Because the development of the text and the visuals was done trying to respect the different hubs' needs and the different hubs' background. This is, of course, to simplify the organization of the content, of course. Fantastic. So Zoom is saying that they are giving it unlimited time. So they won't stop us. That's great. That's very, very good. Can you still hear me well? I think so. Just to check.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, so I was talking about the different hub art boards. As I said, the way you see the final art boards, they look quite well organized and divided per hubs, but this is not the final use that you should think for the infographics. This is just a presentation, a logistic choice that we made. And of course, it was easy also to to develop, especially the content, the text. But please feel free to combine all the 5 parts. The 4 hubs are pretty similar in the way they are structured, and the one that is called PDC, it's a little bit different. Why? Because we wanted to give a 5th option to present content and data also in a different way. As I said, this is a sort of toolbox, and those are examples. So with the PDC artboard, you still have some text and some visuals, but you also have the tables where you can show data around. So you have the 4 hubs, pretty similar with the same structure, and then the PDC a little bit different. Visual accessibility. I'm quite proud of presenting this part, and this was developed. I mean, we had quite a good discussion with some of the CONCORD members that are very, very much involved into accessibility issues, and they're putting this on the table rightly also of the CONCORD conversations. This is something that is absolutely key, and thanks to especially to Light for the World and to Humanity and Inclusion, former Handicap International, and namely thanks to Blondine and Françoise, we included this part for the infographics. Now,
Francesca, sorry.
Yes.
I don't know if my screen froze or if you're still on the PowerPoint, but do you mind sharing the PDF that you're going through right now on the screen?
I am. So it looks like you don't see.
So it's my problem.
I don't know, perhaps.
Or does anyone else in the call?
Hi, no, I have the same problem. I'm still stuck in the PDF on the agenda.
Okay.
So perhaps I stop the sharing and I share again.
Yeah, probably try that.
Let's see. Sorry, we are learning how to use a new system with you guys.
Oh, there you go. Now it works.
Yeah, that's it.
Great.
So, thanks a lot.
Perhaps I make it a bit bigger. So yeah, I mean, I'm only at page 3. So I was going through. I mentioned the main values and mission, how to use them, the different categories, how the artboards are presented, and then I'm now at the visual accessibility point. What I wanted to tell you is that this is not exhaustive. It's not everything you can do to make visual products accessible, but I think we have done what we could. Also, I mean, working with the graphic company, but primarily providing within the toolbox of the infographics also this specific part, which we feel it's very, very important. CONCORD is always trying to put a good accent on this of accessibility. I mean, on accessibility and inclusions, and what we have done was primarily to give you links and present you this alternative text feature that almost all the software has, but many times you don't think about it, especially if you're preparing a presentations or a banner or a visual product. Of course, I mean, especially for people with visual impairments, it's a bit more difficult to make use of those tools. But because our infographics are a mix of visuals and text, we thought this was an important point to make. Now, if you are absolutely not familiar at all with this alt text feature, you can read through the hyperlinks we provided, but it's, I mean, I just wanted to say quite easily what is it exactly. So whenever you have, this is of course for people with visual impairments, when you have a reader, an automatic reader of documents, and you have just text. Of course, the reader is reading out loud the text. When within the text you have pictures, normally the reader is just saying picture, and then is going, I mean, it's just mentioning picture or visual content. If you make sure that there is always an alt text provided into the software you're using, so it depends if you're using Microsoft Office, Word, or PowerPoint, if you're using Apple, if you're using an open source content program software, there is always this possibility to include this alt text. And alt text means that you can attach to each visuals a description of it. So let's imagine you use one of the pictures that we provided with the infographic, and you copy paste it into your PowerPoint. There is in PowerPoint, Microsoft Office, the feature alt text, and you can just describe briefly what the picture is showing. So for example, I don't know, globe with people shaking hands, for example. Very basic definition, but and if you put it, of course, in the right place, so following the alt text instructions, whenever there is a person using a reader to go through your PowerPoint, this person, when it comes to the pictures, instead of just having the reader saying picture, it will say picture showing people on a globe shaking hands. I don't know if I made myself clear, but I mean, of course, I mean, you can go through the hyperlinks we have provided. This is not, I mean, an exhaustive list. We just listed some, thanks to Francois from Light for the World, of the software that we think you will be using. But I mean, there are others, of course, and to be entirely 100% accessible visually, I mean, you can do much more, I think, but this is at least, you know, a first step. And we wanted also to make a point of reflection here. So whenever we are trying to combine visuals and content, it's very, very important, we feel, within the Confederation to be inclusive and to think about accessibility. So that was, you know, one thing that came out in the very first phases of the infographic development, and then this is why you find this in the PDF presentation. Okay, I try to go a bit fast now. Graph and statistics. As you probably have seen in the infographic of each hub, all the graphs are only templates. You don't see numbers, but you can download from the right page, and then I will show it to you right after, the template that can be filled in. Now, why we didn't put specific numbers into those artboards? Because all the hubs, more or less, they had some numbers, some statistics, but there was no clear consensus on what to use. Because, I mean, we do work on so many different things. Some data might be relevant for some and not for others. Also, ideally, if you would like to show a statistic, perhaps you would like to use, if you are a national platform, data from your country. So we decided to just provide the templates, and then in case, you know, any member of CONCORD can adapt and use the best statistics. So this was left on purpose free for the adaptation done by the different members. Text and policy positions to complement the visuals. You have an hyperlink here that was prepared by all my colleagues into the policy and advocacy team in CONCORD. It's not, I mean, so to say, this is not the full list of all the CONCORD positions. It's just a sort of synthetic compilation of the latest CONCORD positions, depending on different issues, and it's not closed. So this document will be also updated in the upcoming months and weeks if new things are coming up. So in a way, you won't lose anything. We will keep this document alive. But I think it's important that whenever you are taking the toolbox and you start to use the images and the visuals, you know that you can go back to the official CONCORD positions on the different topics. And this was for us a good way for members to provide, you know, at least, you know, an easy place to find all those documents regrouped into the same Google document. As I said, must remember the way you are receiving the artboards is not static, is not fixed. It's just a presentation thing, and you are now deciding how to use them. In the artboards, you probably have seen, especially in some hubs, there is still text that it's in Latin. Why? You probably have this question. Why this was left in Latin with the classic lorem ipsum starting text. This is something that graphic designers are using to fill in text when there is no agreement on the final text in a way. And we realized that especially in some hubs, there was no direct link between exact text and the visuals. So in a way, the graphic company, when they started to develop the different drawings, they produced a big number of options. And in some cases, we said, okay, we will give just some titles or headlines, but some we will leave them open. So depending on the different members of CONCORD and the different realities, they will be able to fill in this gap, translating or even in English. I mean, this was just a sort of way to present the artboards and precisely to say, here you can use your text, here you can decide what you want to say, and we didn't want to fill everything in. Of course, also the texts that are now in English can be adapted, changed, cut. But again, this Latin should not scare you, but it's just, you know, a sort of way to show you that we are not deciding everything. This is really still an open live tool that can be adapted depending on the needs. I mentioned the graphs. There is a specific part talking about the data. Illustration guidelines. This is pretty much for, you know, graphic people, communication people. The graphic company wanted to give you all the right codes. So, for example, if you're gonna use them in a specific publication or for printouts, you have all the right codes, color codes. And this is very much a technical piece. We put also possible uses. I mean, those are suggestions, of course. When you see, you know, you can change the colors, but not all the colors. You can change the background, but not all the backgrounds. It's a graphic visual suggestion that came from the graphic company. We are not so, let's say, strict on those, but I think for the final result of the use of the infographics, it's important to keep them into account. The font are also there, and you can download them if you don't have those fonts. So everything can be, you know, downloaded if you or the person working on infographics wants to exactly reproduce also the font, the graphic font for the text. I think more or less everything. So I think, no, I need to say that the first two, Oswald and Playfair Display, they don't have Greek, I think, Greek characters or Cyrillic. I think this was something that was mentioned by the graphic, while Ubuntu has them. Of course, this is important for especially for our Greek members and the Bulgarian members. But I mean, just for you to know that, I mean, there might be those little things to be double checked. material provided, you have a big download file link that goes into the specific page. And let me just go to the right. No. Okay, to the right. So when you click in the PowerPoint presentation, you arrive to this web page where you actually can do the downloads. So you have all the hubs, the PDC, the spare illustrations that was put there precisely because we wanted to give more options and not only the visuals that you find into the posters. So if you download the spare illustration, which is I think also the biggest file overall, the biggest zip file, you find plenty of illustrations provided, and those are also in the PDF, but in a very small format. Let's say graphs and fonts can also be downloaded, and then you have the presentation PDF. Just to, I mean, whenever you click on one of the hubs, it could be hub 2 or hub 3, automatically, especially if you are on Google Chrome, for example, a download starts, and you download a zip folder. So it's a compressed folder. Why? Because what you are downloading, it's a list of different file formats. So, I mean, especially if you do it on a computer that has not a lot of memory, this can create, I mean, some issues of downloading, can slow down. For example, if you are on a call, it's better to do it when you know where to store your files, or if you need to send those, it's better to send the download link and not the file itself. So just to show you an example, if I download one of the hubs, I will open a zip folder that it appears more or less, oops, like that. So you download the folder compressed. So you need WinZip, or at least you need on your computer. I mean, normally I think Windows 10 is doing automatically, but to decompress. So when you have WinZip or another program like that, you can access. This is the Hub 3 I downloaded. You don't go to Mac OS, but you go to the Hub 3 in this case folder. You open it, and then you see here different files. What we will look at, because I can open those, it's the JPEG or the PDF version. But then you have IE, for example, it's the Adobe Illustrator. So this is the vectorial, the more graphic technical file. So I just to try, I open the JPEG, and you have the JPEG file. It's a picture. It's like a photo. So you have the Hub 3 artboards into JPEG format. And so, as I mentioned, you have, I'm sure you have seen it. You have the first headlines, the picture, the 2 sentences that were developed by the hubs and the PDC, which are those 2, the one in blue. And then all the other text and little titles are accompanying titles and text for the icons, for the other little pictures that were developed out of the 2 sentences. So I think here it's important to focus a little bit on how we arrived to this final composition, to the final puzzle. We all started from those 2 sentences. Each hub developed 2 main sentences. One that was more targeting citizens, and another one that was a bit more targeting stakeholders and politicians. And out of those 2, I hope you can see my mouse, out of those 2 in blue, then we developed all the different pictures. And all the different pictures, they come with different concept as well. And then this was also then submitted to the different hubs, commented and amended in the case the pictures were not good or were not showing the right thing. What to say? When translating the sentences, of course, you would need again to adapt. And if you think one specific sentence is not the best one for your use, you are free to change it. Still, please keep in mind what we've said at the beginning. don't misuse the general how to say the general meaning of CONCORD main messages and CONCORD main mission and values. So that's, I mean, that's important, and we hope that this, I mean, will resonate while you will use for your specific moments, events, or social media communication actions, the infographics. And as I said, then the lorem ipsum, so just to show you, this is the Latin, where we didn't have a specific text, we put the Latin, but this, I mean, can be cut or can be replaced. And the graphic templates, if you check all the hubs, they have different graphs. And all those different graphs can be downloaded from the page that I showed you. So you have different, you know, you have histograms, you have charts, and you can choose the best one depending on your needs, depending on what you would like to you know, put it into a nice layout. I think, I mean, it was a little bit too long, but I wanted to again show you in a bit more in details what happens when you download the files. And now, I mean, perhaps I say a couple of things about our idea of trying to, if possible, gather some first feedbacks and also possible use that you will that you are thinking, you are preparing for the infographics. Why? For two reasons. First, because we will be producing a different a new toolbox in the upcoming months and weeks. So it would be great. So before the election still, but it's going to be a volume 2, let's say. So it's very, very important that you give us your feedback on what, I mean, the use you're gonna you know, the use that you're thinking for those infographics, the things that absolutely are not working and you think, no, this is not relevant, please do something else. And also, I mean, if I mean, anything that can be changed or improved, it's very, very important because it will help us in developing the volume 2 in a way. Trying to, again, as I said, this is the first exercise. It was the first time that in CONCORD we have done such a thing. So, I mean, it's a learning process and we need to receive your feedback to then be able to evaluate what we have done, but also to propose something perhaps improved for a second phase. Okay, so that's, I mean, I leave it like that, and then I would like to open the Q&A now for you all guys, reminding that of course we couldn't touch upon all the different parts today, but we are very happy to try to respond to your questions now if possible, or at the second stage bilaterally or via email to all of you, so we don't lose. We can even have a sort of frequently asked questions, for example, that can go with the infographics. I don't know if Paula or Gerard would like to add something. I know it was a lot of talking from my side. Sorry about that. Gerard?
Hi again. So maybe just to clarify, what we'll be doing as communications people from CONCORD with the infographics, or what we cannot do. Let's start with what we cannot do, which is we cannot be your service provider for, you know, adapting the infographics, doing our own designs and things like that, because simply we don't have the time to do that either. So if you want to use the infographics, you might have to you will have to work on adapting texts, etc. yourself. Of course, keeping in mind what Francesca said, you know, to stick to the main CONCORD messages and not to distort our ideas and misuse them. What we can do is leading by example. You know, we will use the infographics from now on as well, because we really like them and we really think they look super neat. And it would be great if you would use them as well, so that way people can tell, okay, there's one movement behind it. And of course, as Francesca said as well, if you use them, you can make us aware of it. You can tell us what you like and what you don't like, so that we can somehow get an idea of, you know, your preferences. Yes.
Yeah, and also they can be used in a simple way or in a more complex way. I mean, there's no need to edit if you don't feel it's needed.
Yeah.
No? I mean,
exactly. So whenever you do something, whenever you, let's say, are writing a newsletter or putting something on Facebook, always keep in mind you have the infographics at hand, and they are, you will find out that they are quite, you can use them for various things. Even if you have like a complex topic, you have a simple graph that can go along with it, and then will give your message some visibility or some visual appeal.
Okay, so I have sharing the slide. I don't know if you can see it. The slide on the possible uses. Can you see it?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. So then now, thanks very much, Gerard and Paula, for the additions. Are very important what you have been saying. And now I would really open the question and answer for more or less half an hour, if possible. And again, anything that cannot be answered today will be answered afterwards in writing for all of you, or bilaterally if there is a specific issue that, you know, one specific organization needs to solve, and we are happy to at least try to, you know, support you in that in this first phase. But also, I mean, be aware that in case you might need an additional graphic support, we can also put you in touch with the graphic company. What we cannot offer, of course, is that, let's say, to pay for this service. But I mean, this is a second stage. But I mean, if you really cannot, I mean, if there is a big technical thing, we will at least transmit the message, see if this can be solved without any, you know, additional, let's say, cost. And then in case, I mean, on a very second step, we can see how to do it if something bigger is needed. Okay, so Q&A. Now we have more or less 10 participants. So I don't know, perhaps you can unmute yourself. Let's see how many people would like to say something or would like to ask questions. And then, yeah, you can just unmute yourself. If there are two people, then we just go one by one. Okay. I see Veronica also raising the hand, so you can have the floor first.
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. Thank you for the presentation. Everything seems pretty clear, and I had already read the toolbox that you sent us. Just briefly, one question: we would want to maybe include our logo in the translated versions. Could we do that? That wasn't quite clear for me.
Okay. Is this the only question, Veronica, from you, or you would like to?
So far that's it. Everything else is quite clear. Unless someone else has a different question, then maybe I get some other ideas. Thank you.
Okay, so perhaps I try to respond question per question, so we don't, let's say, we don't lose track of those, and we will then write down also those. The logo, I think when you mention the logo, you are referring to, let me show it to you. Oh, sorry, this is so I go back to the infographic. When you mean logo, you mean what is at the end, at the very end, correct? Is this one or not? Can you see my screen? I don't know if it's... Veronica, now I can't hear you.
Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing with my mute unmute button. Yes, I can see it, and yeah, that's exactly it. Like, could we add it as an additional part of the infographics,
Of course you can.
or just in a general poster or something like that, just so that it doesn't sound. I mean, it's more familiar to our national context if we use our national logo as well.
Of course you can. You can use only your own logo if you prefer. I mean, the CONCORD logo was put behind primarily, of course, for, I mean, we wanted to still give a light branding because this is in a way a CONCORD Europe joint effort. Ideally, if you manage, you would keep perhaps the two. But
yes,
I mean,
that's the idea. That would be the idea.
If you have a specific need of using, you know, some of the infographics only for your things, I mean, go ahead. I mean, this is precisely the type of, you know, use that we are thinking. Ideally, if there is a way to, you know, co-brand CONCORD Europe, it's better. But we realize that sometimes, you know, if you're, I don't know, meeting a specific stakeholder or that is absolutely not aware about CONCORD Europe, go ahead and just putting your logo there. It's, I mean, this is not done as a final report publication where we need to, you know, raise our profile as CONCORD Europe. Of course, it's very much likely that, I mean, if you put the two and you still have space in your, you know, a portion of, I don't know, the PowerPoint slide or the banner, it's much better for us as well. I don't know if Gerardo, you have a different opinion, but or you have different recommendations.
Yeah, no, I agree. If you use this whole board here, maybe it's nice to have both logos on it.
Okay, is it enough, Veronica? I think so.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. So, what about the others? Now, I don't see if there are other hands raised. Let me check. Now I don't know why I can't see the chat. So, Serge raised his hand. Okay, fantastic. Serge, thank you, Veronica. Please, Serge, from Luxembourg.
Can you hear me? Okay.
We can hear, but not very clearly.
Okay, it's okay.
I don't know. I mean, at least in Finland, I don't hear you very well. I don't know the others in the other countries.
No.
No, not really.
But perhaps we go with with Patricia. Sorry. Hello.
Hi. So
Can you give me a second? 1 second. Hello. Hello. Hi. Sorry. They were calling me from outside.
Okay, it's fine. I got all the answers. My question was as well for the logo, so that was cleared. I'm just wondering whether you planning to have like a communication pack like you did for the last elections with sample tweets and something like in sample data we could then translate into our own languages and use this graphic to post for in social media. And so are you also planning to have this kind of additional documents, you know, just before the elections or during the campaign period, or is this it?
During the campaign period, we can, of course, we will, of course, work on, you know, main messages that we want to send. And I think it makes a lot of sense that I would prepare some of those for the communications community. Also, yeah, keeping in mind the infographics and what you can do with it. of course, you know, those can be those can show anything or everything that you can do with them, since, you know, on national level you might to influence the EP election campaigns differently than what we on a European level have in mind. But sure, generally, yes,
Okay, okay.
we can talk about the EP elections communications on a later point.
Can I compliment Gerard?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to make it a little bit more precise, what I think, I mean, we will do and we can do is in the same way we develop the infographics, have some, you know, quite simple and quite flexible, for example, tweets or Facebook posts.
Yeah.
Now what I mean was clearly shared by many members, the majority of the CONCORD members last year was, please don't give us anything that is pre-made, that it's you know, drafted, because we know better, especially the national level, what to, you know, how to to focus our message, how to. So in a way, I think, I mean, it's important that you share this with us, because we still see then there are members that are still you know, asking for those type of more, you know, basic tools. And this can be done, of course. As I said, we are preparing a second package, so this can be, if this is the, let's say, the feedback we are gathering from the members, it's very important that we include it into that one. But we don't want to go back to something that was already discussed at different levels, and where the majority of the CONCORD members said, what you are giving to us, if it's already done and finalized, we cannot use. So I think, I mean, in terms of sample tweets and sample Facebook posts, it's okay. I'm not sure, because then, I mean, the problem is that whenever we develop one tweet for one hub, then, I mean, we have 4 hubs, we have many working structures, and then, I mean, this is multiplying the Facebook posts or the tweets, and then all those needs to be then adapted depending on the context. So in a way, I mean, I think it's an open conversation. Let's keep it open, and let's gather also, I mean, more feedbacks on top of the one that Patricia just shared, to understand to what extent, to which degree we can you know, include those pieces into the communication pack, let's say. Because, I mean, there is no, this is not one single report, it's tweets and Facebook posts about everything that CONCORD does, which is, I mean, a very long list of issues. So I just wanted to, you know, make this point and you know, allow the you know, all of you to reflect about it. Serge now,
Yeah.
I see Serge.
Yes, can you hear me? you hear
Yes,
me?
yes,
Okay.
still
So,
not very loud, Serge. I don't know if it's the microphone.
no, I don't know. Well, I just wanted to come back to the question of the national logo. I think it is essential. So as well the national as the CONCORD logo, because it is not on a national campaign. It is a campaign for a common fair parliament. So I think it's very necessary to show both the logos to underline the European dimension of our campaign. And secondly, I have a question: if there are other French-speaking members on board, so that we could eventually share the translations, because I speak from a very small.
Serge,
Yes?
I'm very sorry. It's almost impossible to understand what you're saying. I think, I mean, you started mentioning something about the logo, but the quality of the audio is terrible, at least for me. I don't know if for the others.
Yes,
Yeah.
we don't understand.
Maybe can you maybe type it in the chat?
Yeah, if you can write in the chat, perhaps I read it out loud and.
Okay. Okay. One thing I have made in the chat, that is about the sharing the translation to French. and the other one I will put in the chat too. Okay.
I'm sorry, sir. I mean, I see you wrote, I think it's essential to show the national. Please write it down if you can again and I will read your message. I see Veronica. Another question. Will we have a common launch date? Common launch date for the infographics, you mean, Veronica? No, I mean, absolutely not. I think, I mean, now they are out. You can do whatever you want with them.
So the
Okay,
infographic.
so we would, sorry, just to complement the question, like, so I was thinking sort of an online action day, so, I don't know, or a campaign launch or something like that. So it's just self-organized. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, the infographics as they are not are not to be launched to the public announcing that we have them now. They are for you to use in your daily work from now on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But these perhaps
And
these
also keep in mind that the infographics are not necessarily only to be used for EP elections. Maybe that is what you mean, that that we launch an EP elections campaign. That is not necessarily the infographics alone.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Okay.
So, Veronica, if I may as well, I think it's important also about the user. Now, I mean, since Friday last week, this is out, and really, I mean, this is for the members. Then, if you think there is a need of strategizing a bit, and for example, I mean, you mentioned this online action day. I think this is an idea. And not to lose it, I will take good note of it, and we will put it in the list of possible things that can happen. So I see you writing no social media for now. Absolutely not. I mean, if you want to use one of the pictures for your Facebook post, go ahead. This
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's here for. We already started using it. And as I said, we will do so in the future. Also, concerning what you're saying, sample tweets, etc. Maybe, for now you can see what we are doing, and maybe you're getting ideas, and maybe we are getting ideas from each other. So the infographics do not need a launch date. You can use them from now on in whatever way you want to use them.
Okay, so then we can switch to Serge that now was putting his thoughts into the text. Thank you, Serge. So Serge is saying, it is essential to show both national and Concord logo. It is about a European campaign. And then he's asking a sort of follow-up, but more for all of you guys. Are there other French-speaking members on board to share adaptation and translation? I think those needs to be taken separately. So yes, I mean, linked to what Veronica was asking about the logo, absolutely key to use the logos in the best way. So possible to use both of them. If you are in need of using only your logo, you can as well. You don't need to, let's say, you don't need to alert Concord or say, guys, we are only putting our logo. This is absolutely possible. But it's important, of course, especially towards the European election, that we keep this, doable approach. That because Concord is working at the EU level and the national level, two logos of your platform and of Concord Europe can be even more powerful. But I think it very much depends on the single use. For the translations and adaptation, I think it's absolutely relevant and a good idea to centralize the translations. So in any case, if you're planning to translate, in this case in French, but also can be in Spanish or in Slovenian, or I mean, please do let us know, because this can be, for example, linked to the package. Whenever we do have a translation in another language, we can attach this to the infographic pack. So I mean, of course, I mean, it's not the same as, you know, Slovenian will be probably use it only in Slovenia, but for example, in the case of French speaking countries, we have different, you know, we have Luxembourg, we have France, we have Belgium. So perhaps on those type of languages, I'm sure we can share the information, and perhaps, I mean, even if there is a little cost about translation, we can at least facilitate the communication among the platforms. Portuguese useful in KU. KU, I'm not sure.
No, sorry, in Luxembourg, because there are many, I come back, sorry.
I'm sorry, Serge,
No problem.
okay, so I see Portuguese also can be useful in other yeah, of course. I mean, if you're planning to target some specific groups of citizens in your country, I mean, of course, I mean, many expats in you know, in Belgium or in the UK or in France, you can of course have for the same country translations in different languages. So on that, I mean, we cannot help now because we cannot develop the translations, but we can be gladly channel the message and gather everything into the same space. So when all the translations are done, those can be stored in the same space. So I think yes, in Luxembourg, many electors are speak Portuguese. So yeah, of course, I mean, this can be transmitted to the Portuguese platform, and if there are synergies, we can, you know, create this this link. Thank you, Serge. Now I see, I mean, I don't know if others, Mari or Ruth, I see Ruth connected, or Iski left, I think, Iski from Plants, I don't know. We are a little bit over time, but no, it's still between 1 hour and a half. Other questions? No, nothing from Ruth, nothing from Veronica. Okay, so then, I mean, I would close then the Q&A for the moment, only for the webinar, but the Q&A, it's still open for every member, so please feel free to come back to us, ask anything that it's, you know, needed, both from, you know, the technical side and the content side. And we will make sure that everything is also recorded in a way that everything that was discussed in the webinar today can be accessible for the other members and for you as a sort of reminder. Just, I mean, just to close briefly the webinar, and these I put into my slides. I mentioned next steps. Now the next steps, the key ones that I see are, first of all, start using those tools, receive from you colleagues the first feedback. This is useful, this is not working, this should be done differently, and start thinking about the second product that will be developed before the elections, and that should be inherit a little bit the best practice or the lessons learned from this exercise. So in a way, I mean, I will outreach to you all, finding a light way for you to, you know, give feedback to us. And also this will be important because in this way we can also, if possible, track a little bit the use. I mean, in a way we need to evaluate a little bit the use of this tool, and then present it to the CONCORD constituency. So in case this type of product is the good solution, this can be, you know, proposed again and again, and we can keep it as a, you know, this is just the first example, and we can develop, I mean, more similar things in the future. But to do that, we need to harvest a little bit how it went, and be a little bit, you know, in a sort of evaluation mode, for the two reasons: for the short term, because we want to develop a new set, but also on the long term, if we want this to be happening more in CONCORD in a way. I thank you, all of you, for the patience. Also, sorry for the hiccup of the technical problem. I think if everything went well, the record of this meeting will stay, so we will show it, we will save it into a file and make it available. And please feel free to get in touch with me or with Gerard in case of additional questions. So primarily with me, if you don't want to bombard Gerard, who is also quite busy those days, but I mean, or you can put both of us in copy and then we see how to respond if
Sure.
bilateral question is requiring both of us. Gerard, anything from your side still?
Yeah, no, that's a good solution. You can contact me as well, don't worry. And yeah, let us know if you're using it, because, you know, we are super happy with the product and we would be happy if you were using it as well. And that way we can already start share best practices.
Perfect. So thank you very much again, and a big goodbye, and talk soon from Finland, from the Fingo office, the national platform. And thanks to Gerard and Paula, my colleagues that are connected from Brussels. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
To
you.
all of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Ciao.
you. Bye bye.
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 Hmm.